Hello everyone, my name is Nisa Auliyatussa'diyah and welcome back to my video. So, in this video, I would like to share about the principle of TEYL and also how to deal with the different type of young learners. So, let's check this out. Okay, for the first material is about the principle of TEYL. And in this material, there are four principles. For the first one is implicit learning. Implicit learning is a learning that occurs without awareness that is happening. It simply means that a person can acquire knowledge without the explicit intent or realization of doing so. And in this type of learning, the learned skill can be performed automatically and rapidly. And also the implicit learning is characterized by four main properties. There are the unconscious mode of processing, abstract representation of acquired information, incidental character of learning, and also relatively independent of attentional research and disorders. And for example, learning to ride a bicycle would be an example of implicit learning because there is not usually one particular point in time that one can say, that is when I learned to ride a bicycle. Rather, the knowledge is gained slowly over time. The second is contextual learning. Contextual learning is a learning system that simulates the brain to construct patterns that embody meaning. A learning that fits the brain that generates meaning by connecting academic content with the notes of everyday life. This is very important because it helps to store not only short-term memory, which students usually easily forget, but it also helps to store long-term memory, which will help them to apply these memories to their job application later in their life. It's called contextual learning approach because it helps teachers connect content that students learn academically with real-world situations that usually students experience. This is inspire students to make connections between the knowledge and their lives. For example, conducting and designing experiments with the scientific method and acquire helps science students think critically about assumptions of knowledge that are pervasive in society. The third is learner-centered. A learner-centered approach views learners as active agents. So they bring their own knowledge, past experience, education, and ideas, and this impacts how they take on board new information and learn. And it differs significantly from a traditional instructor-centered approach. So, unlike more traditional teacher-centered approach which focus on the instructor, this model places the learner at the center of the learning process. The role of the instructor goes beyond transmitting knowledge as they take on the responsibility of facilitating active learning experience for the learners. And at the same time, learners take on a more proactive role, influencing course content and activities and actively reflecting on their learning. And for the example of Learn Center is learning include allowing experiential learning, inquiry-based learning, experimental design, and play in the classroom. And for the last principle is meaningful learning. Meaningful learning refers to a concept that the learned knowledge, let's say a fact, is fully understood by the individual and that the individual knows how that specific fact relates to other stored facts. The meaningful learning occurs when students experience directly what they learn rather than just pay attention to the teacher's explanation. So, thus the information that is being learned will take longer to remember. And in addition, the new information developed by students will facilitate the next learning process. And for the example of meaningful learning, is a learning the times tables is a rote learning example. It involves memorizing sums through practice and repetition. For the next material is how to deal with the different types of young learners. The first is how to deal with the active and passive learners. So there are some ways to deal with the active and passive learners. For the first is vary the tasks. It means we as a teacher should combine all the skills in English language. There are listening, speaking, reading, writing, vocabulary, and also grammar. The next is give everyone equal chance to speak. It means we as a teacher should give opportunity and freedom to every student to give their opinion or ask a question to the teacher. The next is mix the passive and active students in the same group. But we as a teacher have to make sure that everyone does their own job. The next is give reinforcement. It can a compliment or a reward. For example, when the child succeeds in doing something, give him a compliment so he feels happy and not afraid to do the same thing. And the next is give motivating words. For example, when after a passive students answer a question, so we as a teacher can say that, wow, that was a great idea, or wow, that's a good job, and etc. And the second is how to deal with the slow learners and fast learners. So there are several ways to deal with the slow and fast learners. The first is applying mixed groups between fast and slow in a group discussion. The goal is not to become a tourist attraction, and it is also how that the fast learner can guide the slow learners when they study together. The next is vary the level of difficulties of the task or assignment or a task. The aim is to train the students' ability to solve the problems. The next is vary the learning methods. We also may to use any kinds of media during teaching in a classroom. The next is give remedial teaching to the slow learners. And the last is give feedback to the students so they can know their ability. So the conclusion of this video is that we as a teacher must be able to provide the right method that can be used in a class to balance the learning process in a class, and also we should apply the principle of TEYL when we teach in the classroom. Okay, I think that's all of my video, and I'm sorry if I do any mistakes in this video. And the last I say, thank you very much for watching, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you in the next video. Bye bye.